in reference to your short video on Galatians 3:25, which I clipped, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Sometimes I feel like a complete novice. Does no longer being under the curse of the law mean that we are no longer under the curses found in Deuteronomy for not obeying Torah, although we have access to the blessings listed for obeying, or am I understanding this too simplistically? Okay, so I wrote Stephanie back a email on this, but I think it's such a good question. What does it mean that we are no longer under law? Paul shortens under the curse of the law. He shortens it to, he just uses shorthand, under the law. And so when we hear under the law, we should think under the curse of the law. What does Paul mean by that? That's the question. Does it mean the curses found in Deuteronomy? No. The curses found in Deuteronomy are temporal. Now, this goes back to my understanding. We need to set up real quick my understanding of death again. Death is not the end of existence as I see it. Death is a separation from God, and more specifically, covenant separation from God. We are no longer in covenant relationship with God. So when Adam and Eve sinned, it says, on that day you will surely die. They sin, and lo and behold, what happens? It's not that their physical life on this earth ends. No, they are taken out of the garden, and on that day they are taken out of covenant relationship with God. Now, in that time, okay, and this goes back to the idea of covenant of works found in the garden, which the reformers talk about a lot. If you don't know what the covenant of works is, it's pretty simple. Basically, the idea is that Adam and Eve are in covenant relationship with God. They will stay in covenant relationship with God unless they do this work. So it's based on works. If they do a work, they are no longer in covenant, specifically eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They are no longer in covenant relationship with God. If they don't do that, then they are in covenant relationship with God. They will continue in covenant relationship with God. This is what the reformers call the covenant of works. Okay, so we hear on the day of it, you will surely die, all these kind of things. So that is the curse of the law. The curse of the law is no longer being in covenant relationship with God. And so the way that I see it is when Paul talks about no longer being under law, that means all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And what does that mean? That means that all have sinned and are no longer in covenant relationship with God. And therefore, to be no longer under the curse of the law, what do we have to do? We have to have faith in Christ, because Christ came and paid that price for us. And now he has made the way to come back into covenant relationship with him. So faith in Christ, faith in Yeshua, is what brings us back into that covenant relationship. And we are no longer under that curse, which is death. That is separation, covenant separation from God. Rob?
Yeah, I look at that a little differently.
Okay.
Because we're talking about Romans, like Romans 7, for example. He talks about that the commandment came and worked death
right
in him. But Paul is careful to differentiate. He's saying, well, the Torah is not sin, however, heaven forbid. So the way I understand the curse of the law is more in line with the curses and blessings of Deuteronomy. The idea of that to be under the curse of the law means that the consequences of transgression are on you, which is the same as the wrath of God. That one stands guilty of transgressing God's expressed law, and the wages of sin is death, like it says in Paul. I think that's in Romans, not in Galatians. He doesn't say that specifically.
Okay, hang on just a second. Wait, let's tease this out a little bit. But certainly there are certain commands where if you transgress them, it's not temporal death. For instance, eating unkosher food, right? You don't get the death penalty for eating pork. So it can't be. Under the curse of the law doesn't mean that we're under the temporal punishment of the law. So, for instance, if a believer murders someone, they still are put to death according to the Torah, whether they believe in Christ or not. Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.